The combined reserve and resource there is approaching 2 billion tons at close to 1% copper equivalent. That's contained within a higher grade upper zone and then a bigger porphyry zone at depth.
Joining us for a conversation is David Cole, the CEO of EMX Royalty, the royalty generator. Mr. Cole, welcome to the show.
Maurice, always my pleasure.
Glad to have you back on the program to share the latest exciting developments from EMX Royalty. Before we begin, Mr. Cole, please introduce us to EMX Royalty and the opportunity the company presents to shareholders.
Well, Maurice, as you and your listeners know, we're the most prolific royalty generator on the planet. We acquire prospective mineral rights around the world utilizing our alpha, which is economic geologic talent. We add value by building geologic models illustrating prospectiveness and sell those assets to an industry hungry for discovery opportunity for a combination of cash, shares, annual payments, work commitments, and always a royalty on the back end. We've been doing this business model successfully now for nearly 18 years, accumulating a large portfolio of mineral real estate assets around the world. To augment the portfolio, we grow organically through that bread and butter process. We also buy royalties, which is a difficult business, which speaks to the value of royalties. They're phenomenal financial instruments, but we do occasionally find royalties to buy to add to our portfolio. And the third thing that we've done very successfully is make strategic investments. And what those are share placements into public and or private companies, where we commonly follow that investment with intellectual talent as well to add value and then liquidate it over time. And our strategic investing track record throughout the history of the company is fantastic, and that's why we're in a very strong cash position today. So we're sitting here today with nearly 300 mineral property assets worldwide, close to $40 million in cash, close to 20 million or perhaps a tad more in tradable securities and long-term investments within the portfolio, giving us nearly as much cash and investments and tradable securities as we have raised in the entire history of the company, in addition to our mineral property assets that span the globe. And of course, we have no debt.
You know, for all of the virtues that you've just conveyed here today, I'm on record, I've said it in previous interviews, I plan to match my bullion purchases with the shares in EMX Royalty. I believe that the stock has the potential to thank you, sir, for the outstanding job that the whole team is doing. I believe that the stock has the potential to melt up, and that's not just my opinion. I have a Rolodex of names of some of those most respected names in the industry, and we are all aligned with EMX Royalty in that regard. Sir, EMX Royalty has some important updates for shareholders. Let's begin in Serbia. Mr. Cole, take us along the Bor mining district in the TMOK property, which is owned by Zijing Mining, which is quickly becoming one of the world's biggest ongoing copper gold discoveries in the past decade. Last week, Zijing provided some exciting news on the upper zone. What are the latest developments that you can share with us?
So this is an excellent example of how our business model has worked over the long term for EMX. It was one of our first business units in the company when we were a private company operating in Serbia, originally called Southern European Exploration. We were focused on this business model and acquiring assets in Serbia. We ended up adding value to those and selling them off part and parcel to our business model for cash, shares, and royalties. And that company, which we sold it to, Reservoir, made a huge discovery with their joint venture partner, Freeport. And as luck would have it, it was just off the boundary of our royalty. But we had our ear to the railroad track. We knew what was going on there. And so we were able to quickly go out and buy the royalty that did exist, that was held by another company, over that discovery for a price of 200,000 Canadian dollars early on in the discovery history, before it was fully understood what the mineral potential was there. Keep in mind that the Bor district is Europe's largest historic copper and gold producing region, and has some incredible geology. It's a magmatic complex with copper and gold deposits spread along the strike length of that complex. So they ended up making a very large discovery there. That discovery was ultimately sold to Zijing. Zijing is advancing it very quickly, part and parcel to a $500 million investment into the ground there, and a letter of understanding with the Serbian government. And my understanding is that mine will be commissioned in June.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
within a week or so. Yeah. So we've been told they're throwing a party there and for the commissioning. We're very excited about that. We do hold a 0.5% royalty over that deposit. The combined reserve and resource there is approaching 2 billion tons at close to 1% copper equivalent. That's contained within a higher grade upper zone and then a bigger porphyry zone at depth. And the high grade upper zone is what's going into production first, which will facilitate development of underground infrastructure for the development of the lower zone ultimately.
You've stated in the past that royalties are powerful financial instruments allowing for embedded optionality. Put that
That's
into some
right.
kind of context for us on how powerful is EMX 0.5 NSR on the TMOK property?
Well, it's a good example of the optionality of royalties, and one of the reasons why royalties trade at what sometimes seem like absurd premiums. And this concept of optionality is worth touching upon. A great example is the royalty that Franco-Nevada bought on the Gold Strike mine for a little over $1 million many years ago, in fact, decades ago. And that royalty is now paid close to $1 billion. But when they first bought it, it was a modest royalty on a very modest gold deposit hosted in poor host rocks on the Carlin Trend. And as luck would have it, they ended up finding a huge deposit at depth. New metallurgical techniques were invented to be able to extract the gold from the more metallurgically complex ores. The greater infrastructure continued to be built on the Carlin Trend, making things more and more economic with time. And all of these aspects of optionality, metallurgical advancements, engineering advancements, discovery, most importantly, and of course, commodity price optionality, because the price of gold's moved substantially since they bought that royalty, are multiplicative. And so it creates a situation where a royalty that they paid a little over $1 million has paid close to $1 billion now over the life of the royalty, and it's still paying. And so, of course, not every royalty is going to turn out that nicely, but it does speak to this concept of optionality. And we believe that our royalty on TMOK has that kind of potential. Certainly, since we purchased that royalty, it's turned into a discovery that is measured in billions of tons, and the price of copper and gold have done very well. So these aspects of optionality can play in and be very powerful, and that's why you want to own royalties, and that's why I often say that royalties are phenomenal financial instruments.
They certainly are. Speaking of royalties, let's go to Turkey to the Balya lead-zinc-silver mine, where EMX royalty retains a 4% NSR. Are there any updates you can provide shareholders?
Yeah, that's rapidly advancing towards full-scale commercial production. It's already been in small-scale commercial production. We have received production royalty payments there of a fairly modest amount as they've done test mining to work on the metallurgy, et cetera. Metallurgy works out excellently. There is a commingling agreement which we've signed. So because the district is divided in half, where we have a 4% royalty to the north, and the 5,000 ton per day mill is 1 kilometer from the head frame. They're advancing a spiral decline into the deposit as well. My understanding is that they're greater than 200 meters depth in that spiral decline, and they're getting close to reaching the first big ore pod to be able to mine with rubber-tired vehicles. Previously, they were mining with railroad track. Now they're going to mine in a more advanced way, which will facilitate greater tonnage using rubber-tired vehicles, LHD load haul dumps from underground and running through the 5,000 ton per day mill. We're very excited about the ramp up of production here. Another great example of optionality on a royalty property. Keep in mind, we bought this project originally for $17,000 US from the Turkish government, put together the geology illustrating the potential, and sold it for $100,000 and a 4% royalty. And that 4% royalty will pay us back in spades.
Mr. Cole, I firmly have my hand fixated on my screen here, giving you a high five.
Yeah, well, but let's not get overly excited about this. People need to understand that it takes a long time for these things to mature. We purchased that royalty. We created that royalty organically more than a decade ago. Mm-hmm. But it takes a long time for these things to bubble up, work their way up the pyramid, and become cash flowing. But the opportunity for this to happen multiple times within our pyramid is very high.
Yeah, it speaks volumes for the business acumen
Yeah.
and the geological acumen that the EMX team has here. Let's move north to Finland, where EMX holds a 2% NSR on Palladium One's copper, nickel, gold, platinum group project, where they continue to drill more and more well mineralized intercepts. How do you think this will play out for EMX shareholders?
Well, I think it's going to be another really good one. We love those commodities. We think that copper and nickel and platinum group elements and gold are a great place to be. Those are some of our favorite commodities, if not our absolute favorite commodities. Once again, we bought this royalty early on in the discovery cycle. We bought it for 250,000 Canadian dollars. It's a 2% royalty where 1% can get bought back at any time prior to production for €1 million, leaving us with 1% uncapped, unbuyable forever on the property. And it's turning into a large discovery there in Finland. We believe that it's very likely that that will eventually go into production, and it continues to get bigger within that ultramafic complex. It's a particular type of geological environment that hosts that style of mineralization, and we're very pleased. And it's a good example of us buying a royalty to augment a portfolio that we were growing organically. We have other royalties in the district that we've grown organically through acquisition of exploration licenses and then selling on to other companies and keeping royalties. So we have a big royalty footprint within that district. But we're most excited about the one at Kaukua being advanced by Palladium One. And I will give Palladium One a plug. I think they're a very well run, technically astute company.
We discussed the good, let's address the not so good. EMX acquired a 19.9% interest in the Rawhide mine in western Nevada. So far, the mine has not performed up to expectations. What is the plan going forward?
Well, this is a great example, and I'm actually really excited about this investment. But I know that we initially expected strong cash flow from it right out of the gate. That cash flow has not materialized as there have been problems with the crusher circuit, et cetera. But EMX is doing here what we oftentimes do, and that is follow our investment with intellectual talent. So we have brought in a top-notch engineering team of ex-Newmont people that are dialing things in here. The mine is back operating very nicely. This last week, I believe we were averaging 85 ounces a day, pouring gold ounces per day, doré on site. So the mine's operating quite nicely now. We do have a large debt on that project. It's about a $15 million debt, and that debt is being amortized, is being paid down. So we do expect to see more cash flow once that debt is paid off. But more importantly, with respect to value creation, is now that we've spent more time on this property and put our geologists out there looking at the potential beyond the known deposits, we've gotten very excited about the exploration potential within this large property that's been tightly held for decades, and thus not seen much exploration outside the immediate mine area. So we've actually been so excited about this that we've increased our percentage ownership, and we're moving towards 40% ownership in that now. And I know it didn't produce the cash flow that we expected right out of the gate, but long term, I'm confident this is going to be a good winner for EMX.
Well, certainly if you're going to double your position in it from 19.9 to 40%.
Well, we feel risk adjusted. We're making a good bet.
All right. In closing, Mr. Cole, please provide us the capital structure for EMX Royalty.
Well, we have about 83, 84 million shares issued and outstanding, 92 fully diluted. That share count's not changed hugely over the years. We haven't done a large financing since 2011, and we have no debt. As I mentioned previously, we have close to $40 million cash in the bank and close to $20 million in short-term and long-term investments. So real strong shape financially, and 300 mineral property assets around the world, creating optionality for us, Maurice. That's what we do.
Yes, sir. Last question. What would you like to say to shareholders?
Well, I'm a big believer in this business model. I believe it accretes wealth, sometimes slowly, but it accretes wealth over time. And the key to our stock, a lot of junior natural resource stocks, you want to buy pre-discovery and sell on discovery and catch those waves. With EMX, it's a different model. With EMX, you want to buy the dips and hold the stock long term. That is conducive to how our business will and has added value over time.
And that's exactly the perfect sequence we have right now before us. The stock price is close to $3, and it just dipped down from 366 recently. We will, and I'm on record as saying this, I have to wait 3 days after the interview is public. We will be adding to our position, Mr. Cole.
Well, we appreciate your support, and the dynamics of the capital markets in the natural resource sector are always very interesting.
Mr. Cole, for someone listening that wants to get more information about EMX Royalty, please share the website address.
EMXroyalty.com.
Mr. Cole, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Wishing you and EMX Royalty the absolute best, sir.
Same to you, Maurice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The information presented on Proven and Probable is provided for educational and informational purposes only, without any express or implied warranty of any kind, including warranties of accuracy, completeness, or fitness for any particular purpose. The information is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice, or any other advice. You should not make any financial, investment, or trading decision based on any of the information presented without first undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional broker or competent financial advisor.